your attention, having a good also to like we will get you know like why into the explanation of and just explain it.
It's still showing you have appeared to have cloned an empty repository.
Yeah, because your repository is empty. There's nothing there. So open up that repository. On your local machine, just open it. Open the folder. It's created a folder for you. So open that folder.
On that day. So,
Michael, please mute yourself.
I cannot find the folder.
Where did you clone it to? Open that terminal again. CD into your folder name, my React _ session 1 _ assignments. No, there's no underscore between my and React. Don't add the extension. Don't add .git to it. Now you cannot open it. Use code dot and open it. Oh, there isn't MacBook. Use just code. Let's see if it works.
I'm passing tomorrow now, and I want to play like somebody who just see me at home. I thought you need to put $1,000.
Let me get the prompts. Give me a minute. Use.
No.
Oh, you have to start installing. Oh. Open your folder. Let's look for it in your folder. Open your file manager.
It's fine that I use. I'm search for it. That's this one. Is it this file?
It's a folder. Yeah, you can open it to VS Code.
Like you don't want to get that's something that you don't see. So you are kind of
I don't know why the phone is not showing me like where I can open it.
Check for the other folder that is beside it.
Okay.
Just search for it from VS Code instead, since it's not showing up there.
Okay. I've opened it.
Okay, so what's the next step?
So the next step, create your React project inside that repository.
Okay, so go back to the VS Code. Your terminal, open your terminal. Now you have to like create a new React project with bytes. So type npx create bytes vite at latest dot slash. Give it space there. So it
Okay.
initializes it inside of that folder. So click enter. So yeah, click Y.
It's giving an error.
Okay. Use npm instead. npm create byte at latest dot slash. Use your arrow keys to select React. Like just use your arrow key, go down and select React. Click enter. Type script. No. Click enter. Click enter. Click enter again.
Create a
Are you supposed to create your file there at the root of your project? Where are your files supposed to be? Your source codes.
Inside the source folder.
Why are you not creating it in your roots? The roots of your folder. You can move it there. Walk us through what you are doing.
Okay. I'm in step number 5. I'm trying to create the folders.
Okay, wait. Look at the folder structure that is there. Where are you supposed to create your components?
Where am I supposed to create my components?
Yes, you have your source folder. Then what do you have under the source folder?
The components.
Yes. Did you create a components folder?
Not yet.
Seems like you created a file. Create a folder. The second one there.
Okay, sorry.
I hope everyone else is also following along and doing the assignments. At the end of this class, everybody should have done their section 1 assignment. Ma, you're not walking us through it. Oh.
I'm not very good at explaining, Sha, but I'm trying to create like the message welcome. That's the welcome message, which is welcome to React. Then right now I'm trying to do the about React tags. So I just want to create like to write things in the folder about like the React. Don't know if I'm explaining it properly. So I'm put down here. Then I'm going to be creating a div. Then inside the div, I'm going to just be writing things about React. Maybe I'll use a paragraph. Then I'm going to export it. Then the next, I'm going to be doing lists.
You can clear up what's on your um, app file. You can just clear it up and start afresh.
Okay.
Open a new terminal so you can like run the app and see. So on your terminal, type npm run dev.
npm run
Dev, dev. You have to upgrade your node version.
It's going to take a while. Can I continue with the app.jsx while it's
Yes,
downloading?
yes. You can continue. You can continue.
Okay. This group. But please, I'm kind of confused about this list group part. Hello,
Hello, good evening.
good evening. It's like she's not around again.
Okay, did she say you should do it?
Yeah, she said we should do the assignment.
Okay, open your VS Code. Just go back to the VS Code.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, you're doing for list group, right?
Yes.
And can you go back to the assignments folder or file?
I should go back to it. Okay.
Assignments, like what is the assignment saying?
Okay, they said in the list group that I should create list group.csx that
Okay.
displays a list of topics using map. What is
Okay.
React's folder structure in React JSX, rendering list and conditional rendering?
So, like, just go back to the VS Code. Let's see.
Okay.
Then write the functions. Write function list group.
Mm.
Then write those two. Okay. Not this one, no, not this one. Just that two. This is not curly bracket.
Okay, this one.
Yeah, no, not this one. This one is it? No, not this one. The cycled one.
The what?
Those two, I don't know. Those two cycle, like the function. If you are calling a function, there is those two. This thing that used to be at the front.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, yes. Join it to the group. Like there should not be space. Okay. So now go in the front of those two lines. In the front, they write those curly brackets. Okay. Then go to the middle and then drag the other one to go down. Okay. So from this place, um, write two functions that we call those soon. I'm coming. Okay, so from there, let's
I cannot hear you properly.
Here's something like, let's declare a constant. Eh? Let's declare a constant. That constant equals to name it
Okay.
any given variable. Just name it list. Name the constant list. Then is equals to, then the black array bracket.
Sorry.
Those array bracket, like those squared left and right.
And that was there.
Yeah. Then okay. Then go to the middle of those array. Okay, so now open those two curly brackets and then give it an ID, maybe to be one ID, then semicolon one.
An idea of
Sorry, not so listen,
column.
like dot up and dot down. Yes,
Eh?
column, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, column.
Yes, that was there.
Okay, column. Then give space to be one.
One.
Then give it like maybe comma, then you name anything. Let's say status. Then column, status column. Make sure that that column is within that ID. Like they should join together. Don't separate them.
Okay.
Okay. Then the status just in quotation mark. Is it quotation mark? Just name it anything. Like let's say status. What would be our status? Let's say car. Okay. Then go to the front of those curly bracket and put comma. And then copy that, like copy the line and paste it like 3 places. Then just change those ID. Maybe it's okay. Those ID to be like 1, 2, 3, 4. And then and give it at any status, maybe car one, car two, car three, car four, something like that.
Should I export it now?
Change those ID 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. No. Like ID, the after the column, those
Okay,
one
sorry.
change them.
Mm.
Okay, so
after we call out the constant, then after that, after that array bracket, can you just put comma and then return the function?
Okay.
No, not this one, not this one. This box that is facing the right hand side. Yes, just put comma there and then return. Return. No, not this. Return. Then you put those two what's two brackets, not curly bracket. Those two cycle brackets. Okay. Then go to the middle of the bracket. Just open it. Okay. So now just write those. You know, like if you want to write like p tag, there's this thing that is open. Those. I don't know.
Okay. You want to make a list?
No, not a list. Just the bracket should not contain anything. Like let's just leave the bracket to be empty. Those is it? It's just like a tag, something like that. So just open it and make maybe H1 or H2. Just write something as the heading.
Okay.
You can put H1 or H2. Just give it a heading.
That's header.
Okay. So after that, like I think let's do like all this list tag L1, Li, yeah. Okay. So in between the middle, just call those curly brackets and then call that constant function, like what you name your constant, call it. Do you get? Okay.
Like this.
Okay, then call that constant list dot map. Dot map. Then map should be a function. You get? Map should be a function.
Okay. Like in brackets.
Yes, those brackets. Then open those two. Open another function. No, not like this. Oh, like the map is MAP. The M is small letter, not capital letter. Just dot map. No. Don't put those brackets. It's in the front that you put those brackets. Are you getting
Okay.
it? Okay. So now, then I think now inside the function now, let's give it like name.
Okay. What should I name it?
Like just write name inside. Just write name.
Okay.
Sorry, no vex. This list tag is not meant to be like ordered or unordered like element there.
But I think we just want to call out those things that she said. But we are using this one to test if it will work.
Okay.
Something like that. So in this front of that M, right? There's two brackets before that name in the middle. Like the first, do you get?
Yes.
Add it at the back of that name. Add one bracket. No, not like this.
No,
Like
move your cursor to the left just once.
yes,
Don't move
What?
to the left once. Left.
Sorry.
Yes, there.
go
Now
back.
put the bracket. Put the bracket there. Exactly.
Okay, yeah. No, not like this. Not like go back. You see that N beside the N. Put
Here.
yes. Have you put it? No, not like this. Clean that front one and leave the back one. Clean the front one and leave the. And now put those two brackets, two opening brackets. Put them 2 times. No, not on this place. Beside the N and P.
Wait, Chairman, are you trying to make an arrow function? What is the
Yeah.
parameter?
No, it's to pass like to call out your parameters using map function. You're mapping something.
The map is that this variable you declared in line 2, Abi?
Yes. You
Ahead
are
to
going
now
to
be
declare.
list.map, then bracket,
Yes.
then put
Then
the name in
yes.
bracket. Highlight
Yes.
that name. Now remove remove those two. Remove the second. Remove the second one. The second that one that is near the map. Exactly. Then put equal sign and raised power after the name. Yes, there.
Put yeah.
No equal sign, then raised power. No, sorry, I see raised power.
Greater than.
Greater than, sorry. Greater than, then put curly brackets. Then you can put what you want to put. What are we passing to the function?
No, not call it brackets. Just normal 2 brackets again. We're passing something. And I think let's pass. Let's just check it with an on other list. There is OL. Just put OL. Okay, then go to like this. Go inside this. No, not inside there. Just go after that L. Give a space and give it a key.
After what? Here.
You see that the first opening tag. Yes. Then give it a key. Just like key. Something will come up. So now just call out that function you pass to that map, that name dot
Okay.
name dot id. No.
Anytime I type name, this thing will
No,
come out.
don't no don't press tab. Don't press tab. Type it by yourself.
Type
If
it by yourself. Type it by yourself.
I want to type dots, like the thing will come out. I don't have to type anything.
Type dot now. Let's see.
Look at that. I've typed it. It came out. I think we should change the name of the function to something else.
Okay, change it. Give it like result.
Okay.
On something like this.
We're still doing the same thing.
Do you know what? Change that R to small letter, not capital. Let's see. R to small letter. Then go back and start calling them
Still doing
dots.
it.
How?
Once I type dots, the whole thing will come out like result. Then if I type dots, this whole thing under here will come out.
Okay.
This
Do you know what?
version.
Just type result ID, then go back and put dot. Result ID. Type it together, then go back and put dot. Let's see.
Okay.
Is it okay?
Yes.
Then then come out from that bracket now. Then go back to the middle of those two other lists.
Mm.
Put another curly bracket and call result dot status. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay. But it's showing red line, right?
I don't know if it's from the name of the function. Let's
You see
try.
that map? After that P, put another bracket. Like there should be two brackets.
Okay, I thought you told me to clean it before.
No, I say you should put it.
But then there is no other closing brackets for it. I should add on that.
Then no, not there. Go to those two before that L closing, L1 closing, LI.
Okay. Yeah.
So at the back of those, at the back of that curly bracket, put another bracket, like a normal bracket, circle bracket.
Mm.
No,
It's
at the back, not at the front, at the back. Is it okay?
yes.
So now just go down and then export that particular function.
Okay. Export.
Then go back to your app.txs.
And then import it.
Yes.
Okay. That's worked. Thank you very much.
Okay. Has it work?
Yes.
What is it showing on the?
Oh, I'm still installing my node. Let me check whether
Okay.
it's done.
Okay, but you know, on those status, you are going to change it to those thing on that. Do you get
Where?
those on those listing? There's something that we declare those status, something that we gave it some name, car one, car two.
Yes.
So we are going to like change that car one to what it is given on the documents.
Okay.
So like what is React, what is something like that.
Okay. Okay, I'm done with that. Let me check my. It's taking long to download. So I think I need to like create a function here to call out all those things you just did, plus the welcome message and all.
Yes, just create the function and just call out those. Yeah.
What do we call it again?
No, your function name should be like app, not list group.
Okay, thank you.
No, just return. There's no need to declare anything on the app docs. Just return those components.
Okay.
No, like once you call out those app function inside those two curly brackets, you will now type return, not
Okay.
outside the function. Then use space and those two brackets. Okay. Drag it down like then put okay, yeah. Close it.
I've closed it.
Okay, then go at the top and just like this welcome component, just put it inside an empty tag.
Okay. Like this.
Yeah, something like that. Then
Then I
you
should be
not
adding other ones under it, right?
yes, you can add other ones.
Why is it showing an error? Why is the function underlined red?
I think maybe because I've not exported. Let me try to export. Still showing that.
But the function name, I mean, where did you get it from? Sorry, I wasn't following along. Where did you get it from?
I wrote list group before, but Chigozie told me I should change it to app. That it was supposed to be app. But let me try and check what I'll do the list
Why
group.
it should be app is that if you go to your main dot this thing, like you get what I'm saying, your main. Go there,
Yes.
you see something like that, like you see something that has been imported by default.
Okay.
Okay, hover over the this the arrow. Let's see now. Okay, you change the
That
F
F is
to
capital.
lowercase.
That's all right.
Then go back to your main.txt. Let's see.
Okay.
I think it's okay. It's there.
Yes.
So just run it.
Yes.
Just run it. Let's see the error that it will bring.
It's still like I have my Node.js is not updated, so I'm still trying to download. I'm still trying to download it, so I cannot check it unless my Node has completely downloaded.
Okay. I know.
You know, it's taking so much time.
Okay, thank you very much, me and every other person that contributed. Otherwise, we're just going into today's class. So we can check it later.
Okay.
Right. Thank you. You can stop sharing your screen. Okay, welcome everybody. So today's class is just starting because nobody did the assignments. So I'm still going to go through it, what I want to do today, and it's going to be longer. So stay tuned. If you know you want to drop off now so you can watch recording. All right, I'm going to share my screen now so we can start. So today we are going to be talking about props, React hooks like useState, useEffect, how to handle events in React, and at the end of the class, we are going to build a functional to-do app in React. Who is that person? Please mute yourself. Mute yourself, Mr. Pascal. All right. So in our last session, we talked about React. We talked about components in React, JSS, rendering logic, and we also created a new project and tried out examples of all these lessons. So for today's class, we're going to talk about props, how props makes components reusable, event handling, useState for dynamic UI, useEffect for side effects in React. Okay. Now props. Props is short for properties. They are how you pass data from a parent component to a child component. Props allow components to receive data. Props make components dynamic and reusable. So you can see props as like an argument to pass in to your components. Okay, so they help you to pass data from different components. So you can also, it also makes your components reusable. So we're going to try now like an example of what a props will look like. So now here is the syntax for props. You have a function, then you define your props as a name. This is using a TypeScript like syntax, where you like explicitly state that this name is a string. Your props can be any data type, like from string, to number, to Boolean. Your props can also be any data type. They're like arguments that you give to your components. Okay, let's just do just one quick example before we move on to the next. Let me share my terminal quickly. Okay, so I'm going to create a new, going back into TS Basics folder. Oh, all right. Oh, not CS Basics, React Basics. Sorry. Yes. So I'll just create a new one then. npm create sorry about that. Let me just quickly start with the new project.
All right.
Okay. So we have the new React app here. So I'm going to clear this up. Delete index.css. Import to here. Okay. So I'm going to create a new components folder. To explain props, we're going to use a scenario. Let's say we want to create movie cards for like a movie app like Netflix. You know, they have like different cards for different movies that you can now click on and then watch them. So here in the components folder, we'll create a new component called card.tsx. Here. Okay. So now here in our card, we're going to create a new function.
I think it's cool.
Like this now is a prop. Title, content, and this is a prop. But for now, we're not going to add any props here. We're going to just return. We're going to return a div with page2 tag things. Oh, how did they know that to do this? Right. Select the sports section. Yeah. I'm like, oh. I think it has not finished installing this stuff. It's not done installing dependencies. I'm going to just wait for it to finish. Check if I already have the React app here. I want to look into. Okay, so I'm going to use the one I had previously. I was looking for it. Yeah. So I'll create a new component here called my card.csx. Okay. Now I'm going to rewrite the functionality. Or let's just copy this. I think the other one is not done installing dependencies. That's why it is showing errors. Yeah. Okay. So this is a simple component that returns an h2 tag with card components here. So Let's go back to our app.cs. Here, let's return our card. Components. Okay, import it. Okay. So you can always reuse our components. Let's try running this now and see the output of this code. Okay. I think I terminated this statement. Let me just run it. Okay. So right here we can see the different card components. So let's say I want each of these card components to have like different titles for movies instead of just returning card components. So instead of me to like start writing different of those components, we can add a prop to this card, and let's say this prop is called title. Okay, and call it Star Wars. Okay. Yes. Let's add the program and call it static. No. How about that? Add the title to this. Call it. I don't know if this movie exists, but I'm adding it here. So now we're getting an error here because this card component does not have a prop with title. Does not have this title prop. So what are we going to do? It's calling it property title. So like prop is short for property, the properties in React. Since we don't have this title property defined, we are now getting an error here. So for us to solve this, we have to go to our card component, then add our title prop here. Okay. Another way to define this is, let's just see. So now, instead of just writing our card components like this, we can now pass in the prop. So in order to add a dynamic, you know how to add a dynamic information in your React, you have to use this curly braces here. Then we're going to write props.title. So now it takes this prop and the title element. So I can come here now and even decide to add another prop like let's say we can add what other prop can we have in movie? Let's say the authors. Okay, give it to array. This is initialized as an array because you can have more than one authors. So this like you have props, and inside of our props objects, you can now have your title, authors, and any other different kind of props or information you want to collect, like a data you want to collect. Now this now returns props.title, just this. So if you now come to our app.ts, and now it's giving an error because we have more than one prop. So I'm going to remove the second prop. Okay. For now. Okay. So now our card is now happy. So if you now give this a title of Star Wars, give this title of Avatar, what will now show up are these titles instead of just the card components. So it's like a way to add arguments to your functions that can be reused here in any other place in your code. So let's see the outputs. For us to remove the older outputs, we can just comment out all these components. I can else this side. Okay, so now we'll only be seeing this. Like I see now we have Star Wars, Avatar, right here. This is very, very useful when you always want to reuse your component. So you don't have to explicitly state that this card title should be this. So if I want to reuse this particular card component in maybe another part of my app, I can just call this function, this component here, and add the title I want to that particular component. So this is how prop works. It just works like an argument for your components. You can add more than one prop. You can add different kind of props, even a boolean, a number, an array. Any data type can go into your function as a prop. That's just a simple definition of what a prop is. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Just a way to make your components reusable and dynamic, meaning you can be able to use the props inside of your JSX elements as like a dynamic way to get information. Okay. Next up is event handlers. While this is loading. Like in your regular JavaScript, if you want to like call an event, maybe an on-click event or an on-submit event while creating a form or something like that, you have to start creating a new JavaScript script file and then start calling all those functions while the object is linked. So props are read-only. Props makes components reusable. Props allow your UI to be dynamic. We already touched this. Now, how do we handle events in React? In React, events are written in camel case, not lowercase like HTML. If you want to do an on-click event, you can see this is camel case. The first the first letter here is lowercase. Then the next one is like capital. So if you want to do an on-click event, on-submit event, and the rest, we use camel case in React. And you can perform on-click events inside of your GXX files. You don't have to like start creating a new scripts file to like start doing your events or handling events. Okay, so let's do a quick example on that. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to use the list group function as an example for this. So let's use the card. Let's say I want React to emit an event when I click any of my products here. How do we do that? In React, on click is here. Let me clear this one. You can call your on-click event directly inside of here. So let's say I want to create an on-click event that's we want when any of this is clicked. So we're going to use an arrow function. So it should give us console.log a simple clicked. I'm going back to my app.ts. I'm going to uncomment this. Uncomment. Okay, so let's go back to our app. So here, let me inspect this so we can see the console. In our list group components, we gave the on-click event to this UL on other list here. So if you click on any of this, you can see here in our console, it emitted the event clicked, just clicked. That is, if you touch any of this here now, to emit that event clicked. And now with this method that we chose, we cannot know which particular item in this list was clicked. We just know that it's emitting this click event when any item on the list is clicked. And it's just like emitting the event. But we don't know which particular item was clicked. So how do we now know which particular item was clicked? So what we're going to do now is going back to our list group code. Now, instead of passing in, just passing in clicked here, we're going to pass in products. Let's see if it's going to work. Okay, it just listed out all the products here. So let's go back to that. So because this on-click event was declared in the UL, we cannot get to this particular parameter here. So let's move this on-click event to move it inside of this map function. So okay, it's not gonna work. Yeah, I'll just give it to you. So you cannot check which of them. This one is only going to show clicks if you click on the first index. So it's only showing the first index. Crazy. Well, so this is how you can use like click events in React. So there's another way we can actually handle our click events. We can create a handle click function. Yeah, I think I just implement this. So now instead of us to pass it into this like this, we can just pass in handle click. So this function here helps us to handle our click events because there are sometimes that your click event might be bigger than this. So we can now handle it with this function. Okay. It still works the same way. This still works the same way. We can now make those edits on top of this. So this should return our products. So now it's giving us an array of all our products and their index. How great. So no matter which one you click on, it gives you the array. Let's go to CSS. Okay. In React, we have hooks that helps us to do like special effects in React. So hooks helps us to tap into React's special components. And if you want to define a hook in React, you use the keyword use before the hook. So the React states hook uses, before you can use it, you need to declare it as useState. So useState is a React hook that lets you to add state to your components. State is data that can change and cause the UI to render. So let's quickly watch a video to explain these useStates. Just a short 8 minutes video that's going to explain that. So sorry, guys. My network just disconnected me. Let's please, where did I stop? So I know how to move anything. Hello, can you hear me? Pastor, Rejoice, Chibike. Can you guys hear me? Okay. So I'm going to continue from use states. But I don't know where I stop. Where did I stop? So I know where to like continue from. I'll just continue from the states.
I think hooks.
Yeah, hooks. Okay. So let's play this video for instance.
Sorry, I'm not hearing any audio.
I don't hear any audio. Wait, let me
No.
go back and share. Uh, oh, okay. So let me reshare the tab since I cannot share audio. So I'm going to start from the beginning.
Components was like working on an old, reliable typewriter. It got the job done, but it wasn't exactly smooth.
Can you hear it?
Managing state, dealing with side effects, and keeping track of lifecycle methods felt like carefully pressing
Give me
each
a reaction,
key,
can you hear?
hoping you wouldn't jam the machine. As your projects grew, it started to feel like you were typing out a novel on that typewriter. Every new feature was another chapter, and the more you wrote, the more you had to wrestle with the mechanics. Fixing bugs or adding new functionality often meant going back and retyping entire sections, which could be frustrating and time-consuming. Developers began to wish for something more efficient, something that would let them focus on the story they were telling, not the tool they were using to tell it. Then along came React hooks, like upgrading to a sleek, modern laptop. Suddenly, the process was streamlined. With hooks like useState and useEffect, you could manage state and side effects directly in functional components, typing out your code with ease. Like for example, imagine you want to build a simple counter app. With class components, it would have been like using that old typewriter. Setting up state, managing updates, and handling events all required careful coordination. But with hooks, it's as simple as writing a few lines of code. For example, useState is like having a built-in counter right on your laptop's keyboard. You don't need to worry about manually managing the state with separate methods and properties. Just call useState to create a state variable and use setCount to update it. The result? A clean and intuitive way to manage your application's state. You will certainly use the useState hook in most of your React apps. The useState hook in React is a fundamental tool for managing state in functional components. It allows you to add state variables to your components, which can then be updated and used to render dynamic content. The useState hook has three parts. The state, which holds the current value, setState, which is a function used to update the state, and the initial value, which is the value when the component is first rendered. You'll often find useState handy when building forms, where you need to keep track of user input for tasks like search suggestions, filtering tables, and more. It's also great for conditional rendering, such as toggling between two states, like showing or hiding content with a button. Or imagine displaying different content based on whether a user is logged in or not. With useState, managing these dynamic scenarios becomes straightforward and efficient. The useState hook's initial value isn't limited to just booleans or primitive types like strings or integers. It can also be an array. For instance, when building an e-commerce app, you might use useState to manage a shopping cart. In this scenario, useState helps track the items in the cart and updates the list as you add or remove items. You can even use objects to represent and manipulate the cart's contents effectively. But there's a problem. As your app grows, for example, you added a function which remove item to the cart. Add a state that manage for the total quantity of items and the total price of items. Managing many states can become cumbersome. You can just imagine how challenging on the app when your component's state grows in complexity. But luckily, React has a solution for that. Introducing useReducer. useReducer is a React hook used for managing complex state logic and functional components. It's an alternative to useState that is particularly useful when dealing with state that has multiple subvalues or when the state updates depend on complex conditions. Let's revisit the shopping cart example and see how we can use useReducer to simplify our app. For now, let's remove all the useState hooks and associated logic. Just like useState, useReducer also requires an initial state. In our case, this includes the cart, which starts as an empty array, and both the total quantity and total price, which are initially set to 0. To define a reducer function, you need to create a function named reducer. This function takes two parameters, the state and action. The state parameter represents the current state, while action is an object that describes the operation to be performed. For example, to handle adding and removing items, you can use a switch statement within the reducer function to specify how the state should be updated based on different action types. By doing this, we can now update all the necessary states in one place, reducing the complexity of the app. We can also use the spread operator with the state to update only the parts that need changing. Then next, we'll add functionality for the cart, total quantity, and total price. But you might be wondering, what is this payload doing here? In the context of React's useReducer function, an action in a reducer typically has two main parts. The type, which is the string that describes the type of action being performed, like the add item and remove item. The type tells the reducer how to interpret the action. On the other hand, payload refers to an object that carries any additional data the reducer needs to perform the action. We'll get a clearer picture later once we apply the function we wrote earlier. Inside your component, such as the shopping cart, you can call useReducer, similarly to how you call useState. However, instead of using setState, you'll use the term dispatch to send actions to the reducer. Inside useReducer, we first provide our reducer function and the initial state we created. And next, we'll just create an arrow function to handle adding items. This function will take item and price as arguments, which we'll use later. Within this function, we'll use the dispatch function we set up earlier. We'll just specify the action type we want to call. In this case, it's the add item. But what about the specific item name and price? That's where the payload comes in. We use payload to pass additional data, like the item and price. Inside the dispatch function, we include payload and provide the arguments for the item and price. The same principle applies also when removing an item. Then, we just need to complete the rest of the logic by adding buttons for specific items, mapping through the cart array and adding a button to remove items based on their index. And finally, we'll just need to display the total quantity and total price. To keep our code even cleaner and more organized, we can also move the initial state and reducer function to a
AI is changing the game for app development. Firebase is here to help. We
a separate file and import it as needed. By doing this, we can keep the component files focused on rendering and logic, while state management logic resides in its own file. Makes it easier to navigate and understand each part of the application. Plus, when the state management is in its own file, we can reuse it across different components without duplicating code. This setup also helps us avoid mistakes and makes updates easier since all the state management logic is in one place. It's a neat way to keep our code organized and efficient. When comparing useState to useReducer, the difference might seem subtle in simpler cases. However, as we build more complex applications, such as a shopping cart that handles forms, API calls, and multiple state variables, the advantages of using the useReducer hook become more apparent in terms of organization and maintainability. We can clearly see how useReducer organizes the code in a much cleaner, more readable, and sustainable way. All in all, we can use useState for simpler components, where state management is straightforward and doesn't involve complex logic or multiple state variables. However, as your application grows and state management becomes more intricate, useReducer steps in as the unsung hero. But managing state locally in React is just one approach. There is also a way to manage state globally. Local state management, such as useState and useReducer, is confined to a specific component or a small set of related components. On the other hand, global state management, such as the Redux library, is beneficial when you need to share state across the entire application or large parts of it. This is especially useful for components that share data like user authentication status, application settings, or global notifications. Since you've already learned the useReducer hook, picking up Redux will be easier for you. It follows a similar pattern with actions and dispatch. To really understand how Redux works, stay tuned for our Redux tutorial, where we'll dive deeper into managing global state. This is just the first part of mastering React hooks in an easy way. We will still discuss.
All right, so that's a very brief explanation for how the useState React hook works. Okay, so I'm going to share another screen. Share something else. Okay. So like you mentioned, the useState allows you to change states when data changes. That is, let's say when you want to get inputs from a user, and you want, after the user inputs their information, your state should change, and that data should show up somewhere else. You use useState to do something like that. Okay, we're going to do an example on that so we can understand better. Then we have useEffect. So useEffect lets you to run code after React renders. So it's like a way to do other things while your code is still running. So while your UI is still running, you can do other things like fetch data, subscribing to events, working with timers and all at the side while your app is still running. So even if you have a code running, you can also do other updates. And that's what useEffect will help you do. We're going to watch another quick one to explain it further before we go into the project for today. So I'm going to present the screen. Saying I can't share my screen. Let me share it again.
Parts manage side effects and respond to changes easily. Today, your React components can easily react to things happening around them, like getting new data every time something happens, or handling components that can dynamically update and respond to real-time events. Well, that's what useEffect is for. This powerful hook is the secret sauce that helps your parts manage side effects and respond to changes easily. Today, we're exploring useEffect, how it works, why we need it, and we'll present real-world scenarios that show when and why you'll want to use useEffect. So let's get started. We can describe useEffect as a React hook that lets you run side effects. A lot of people are confused about what exactly side effects are. Well, in simple terms, side effects are actions in your code that happen outside of rendering the UI. So what do we mean by that? For example, think about when you're making food and you have a timer in the kitchen to alert you when to check on it. Your main goal is to make the meal just right. So you set a timer for every 3 minutes. And each time it rings, you should check on the food you are making. In this case, your timer influences you to check on the food at regular intervals, causing what we call a side effect, an action that results from a primary task. In this case, the timer's influence on your checking behavior. This concept can be applied to everything in React. For example, you may need to fetch new data every time the top list changes, so you can show an updated list to your users. We can understand this better on a deeper level once we grasp how useEffect works at a fundamental level. Before React introduced hooks, class components were the primary way to manage side effects and lifecycle methods in React applications. Developers used lifecycle methods like component did mount, component did update, and component will unmount. For example, when we want to fetch data from the API based on the user ID prop, we would need to separately define what happened when the component first renders, and then check for side effects, such as the changes of the ID and component did update, to fetch new data. But now, since we have the useEffect hook, this process is simplified. The syntax of the useEffect hook is very easy to remember. You just declare useEffect, and inside you place an arrow function in an array. Inside this arrow function is where your side effect code runs. In our earlier example, this is where you fetch new data when the user ID changes. But how does useEffect know when the user ID changes? Well, your useEffect needs to depend on something to know whether it should run the side effects or not. That's why useEffect has what we call dependencies. So, the array we added earlier is for your dependencies. And inside this array is where you place the variables or props that your effect function depends on. If any of these dependencies change between renders, the effect function will rerun. And in our case, it's the user ID. So every time the user ID changes, the useEffect hook will fetch new data based on that user ID. Now, we don't have to manually declare each lifecycle method like in class components. This is why useEffect is so useful in terms of saving time and improving code readability. We can see this more in things that require to refresh data, like building a weather app. Weather apps rely heavily on timely and accurate data to provide users with up-to-date weather information, ensuring that users always have the latest weather updates based on location without having to manually refresh the app. When we first open the app, useEffect will run right away and fetch the data from the API and show the weather information for New York as it is our default location. However, if we input another location, it will now fetch new data based on the location submitted by the user. useEffect is also very important when we need to update the component's state immediately after the data changes. For example, in a financial app, where every second counts, we want to display the numbers immediately after the data changes. In this example, we use useEffect hook to fetch the stock price every second. So we use the set interval function to get the stock price every second. But as we examine more closely, this useEffect also uses a return function. What exactly is happening here? Well, useEffect have a third property called the cleanup function. The cleanup function works when the component is about to be removed from the DOM. This prevents memory leaks that can cause the application to consume more memory over time, leading to slower performance or even crashes. Like for our earlier example, we use the cleanup function to stop fetching data when the user navigates away from the page or the component is removed from the screen. This will lessen our API calls and in return, lessen the burden on the app and API expenses. Let's look at a simple example to understand this better. Like for instance, you wanted to build an online or offline status feature for your app. You think about wanting to let people know if they're online or not. So first, you would need to make a state that saves the value of the navigator .online. This feature tells you if the browser is online or not. It gives back true value if the browser is connected to the internet and false value if it isn't. Now this is where the magic happens. Using the useEffect hook, we can immediately trigger window.add event listener to subscribe to the online and offline events. These events fire whenever there's a shift in network connectivity, whether the user goes offline or hops back online. But what happens if the user closes the app or switches tabs? No worries. The cleanup function in useEffect makes sure that when the component is no longer in use, these event listeners are automatically removed, preventing memory leaks or unnecessary tasks from running in the background. This method allows you to monitor a user's connection status in real time without putting extra strain on your app. In simple terms, the cleanup function in React's useEffect hook is a function that runs when the component is about to be removed or before the effect runs again. The purpose of this is to free up resources by doing things like stopping event listeners, turning off timers, or canceling network requests. This helps stop memory problems and avoids doing things that are not needed. It's like putting an automatic brake for your useEffect hook. Because if you didn't know, useEffect can be pretty dangerous to your app when you don't know what you're doing. That's why in this section, we'll go over the 2 common pitfalls when using useEffect in your app. We all understand that useEffect depends whenever your dependency's data changes. But if you include a dependency variable in useEffect that changes frequently, such as every 0.01 seconds, and you fetch data from an API within that effect, it can lead to significant and costly mistakes. This setup would result in excessive API calls, dramatically increasing network traffic, and potentially incurring high costs if the API has usage limits or charges per request. We don't want to hit the API calls limit over and over again, right? So to fix this, it's crucial to implement a timer or debounce function to control how often the effect runs. Additionally, incorporating a cleanup function to cancel pending requests before initiating new ones can prevent overlapping calls and reduce unnecessary resource consumption. This approach ensures that your application remains efficient and cost-effective, avoiding performance bottlenecks and financial pitfalls. So the number 1 pitfall to avoid is failing to check your dependencies array. The second pitfall to avoid when using useEffect is overlooking the importance of cleaning up side effects. Think about making a chat app where every user connects to a server to get messages instantly. You would need to create the WebSocket connection using useEffect so that it connects when the component loads. But if you don't close the connection when the component is removed, the WebSocket stays open, using up resources and possibly causing memory issues. This is especially likely if users often move between different chat rooms or pages. Just imagine thousands of unused WebSockets left open. It's crazy to think about the immense burden that would place on the app server. So, to avoid this problem, you should use the cleanup function in useEffect. This will make sure that the WebSocket connection is closed properly when the component is removed or when the user changes to a different chat room. In real life, if you don't close connections, a lot of connections can stay open even after the user has left the website. This could make the app slow, use too much memory, or even stop working, especially if many people are using it. Cleaning up properly helps the app run well and stay stable, no matter how often users move between different parts or pages. So, in short, always use the cleanup function when you need to break or terminate ongoing processes when dealing with side effects in useEffect. And I know we've discussed a lot of concepts today, which is why we've made a PDF version of this video. It's free, but we would really appreciate any support you give to the channel. This is just the second part of mastering React hooks in an easy way. We will still discuss use context, use ref, use callbacks, and more in future videos. Make sure to subscribe so you don't
So useEffect is a React hook that handles side effects aside from your UI updates. Like when you're trying to fetch data from an API or something like that. Maybe you want to create a movie app or a music streaming app and you want to fetch API from somewhere. Your useEffect helps you to do those logic aside of your UI that is actually correctly running. So that's just a simple definition of useEffects. All this might not make sense now, but it will make sense when we start building projects. So for today, we're supposed to build a to-do list app today to use all these concepts so we can understand it better. So do you want us to do it now or we'll do 2 projects in the final class? Or should we do that now, then do 1 more project in the final class? What do you guys think?
Let's do it here.
All right. So we are going to use Stay with CSS for styling. This is our to-do list app. So I'm going to show us how to configure that with our Byte React app. So I'm going to share my whole screen now. And let me close all this. Okay. So please work with me if you can, so you can grasp all the concepts here. Okay, so we're going to create a new React app, npm, sorry, create byte add latest. Hope this won't take long. It won't take long to wait. So we're going to, this is just name this to we're going to use React and TypeScript. This output fast. So let me quickly open the Tailwind up so we can be going through that while that is installing. So we have to manually set up our Tailwind CSS file inside of it because it doesn't come with it. I think it comes with it. I skipped that part. Let's just do that. So this is our Tailwind CSS though, right here. So with React, you can actually use any type of styling type you want. You can use your normal inline CSS. You can use external CSS. You can use Tailwind. We have other styling libraries like Material UI and different kind of styling libraries you can use. So React is very dynamic and accepts any type of styling you want, even Bootstrap. But most React developers use Tailwind CSS. It's like the standard for the whole React community. So we're going to go to the doc now. So since we're going to be using Vite, we're going to follow these steps to configure Tailwind in our application. First, we need to create a new project like we just did now, like we're doing now. Okay, it's running now. So first, I'm going to create a new terminal. CD. So let's open this up in VS Code. Now to configure this in Tailwind, I'm just going to make this smaller so you can see. Okay. So we have this here. All right, so you've done this. You create a new project, CD into your project. Then we are going to run this npm install tailwind css at tailwind/byte. So I'll copy this and paste it here. So that should install tailwind css and tailwind byte dependency. So following this documentation will help you to configure Tailwind CSS in your Byte projects. They have other ones like CSS, Tailwind CLI, framework guides, CDN. So any of them. Oh, we're going to be using Byte for today. Okay, that's installed. So now we're going to go to our directory here, our projects. Now here they said we should configure our in this file, vite.config.ts. So we're going to open that file. Now we're going to add this line of code here. Okay, getting copy, so I'll just copy everything. This line of code should go under here. Then this plugin, we're going to add this plugin. Okay. So let's do this. So inside of here, we're going to add the Tailwind here. Look at it. Inside of plugins, we're going to add Tailwind CSS plugin. So yeah, there we go. I'll put this like this. Okay. So I've configured this, the vite.config file. Next is to create this in our CSS file. So we're going to be removing our index.css file. Let's delete this. Then in our main.ts, we're going to remove these imports to avoid any issues. So we're going to configure our app.css file. Let's clear this up. We're going to now import Tailwind CSS like this here. Then, okay. So we'll make sure that our app.css is installed. Okay. So I'm going to clear all this. Clear all this. Oh, let's just clear what is inside. Clear this. Okay, so now we have a clean app.ts, a clean app.css. Yeah. So let's test if, okay, there's one more thing we have to do. We have to add Tailwind in our HTML. So we can open our index.html here and add this line in our head. Link href this. So inside of our head, we'll put this. Link href is referencing where your CSS is. The compiled CSS is included here. So this CSS file is referencing this. And then style sheets, this. So now with this, we can use Tailwind CSS anywhere in our application. Okay. So let's check if we can actually use it. Inside of here, we're going to define an h2 elements ahead. So that says hello world. This gives it a text that is 3XL large, font bold, and it's underlined. So let's see if it works. So I'm going to like rerun this. It's not going to. Let's rerun our application. Stop this, we use Ctrl+C. So I'm going to cd into PM TLSM. So npm run the to check if our Tailwind CSS is actually installed. So if you want to confirm if your Tailwind CSS is installed in your project, you just come to your package.json here, and you can see it right here inside the package.json. So this tells you that Tailwind CSS is currently in this project. So let's open this up. Okay, you can see that this our text is underlined. So let's try to put it at the center. Text center. So it's much CSS. Okay, so it's right here at the center. So it shows that our Tailwind classes are working fine. You can also change the text color. So maybe blue. So Tailwind Intelligence already gives us all these shades. So you can just pick the shade of blue you want. Yeah. Oh, you gave text shadow. You gave it the text shadow. I don't want shadow. I want the text, actual text. So I'm going to remove this shadow. So it's deep blue. Let's make it lighter. So 400. So you can see our Tailwind classes are working fine. Okay. So this is the basis of how to configure Tailwind in your React app device. All right. So I'll be following up to these points. Is there anybody having issues with installation or configuring Tailwind CSS? Before we move on. Happiness, are you having any issue with configuring?
No, I'm not. No, I don't have any issue with configuring.
Okay, so you are at this point right now, right? I should move on with creating the application. Okay.
I'm still writing the code. So I was
Oh,
listening.
you need to write this. I was using this to test. So the real, I want to start now.
Okay.
So now we want to put our application, our to-do app, our to-do list inside of a div. So I want it to be like in a containerized format, to be like in a container at the center of our screen. So we're going to use a div here and give it a class name of, let's close this div. So I'm going to give this a class name of, let's give it a background. So our background should be, let's make our background red. So I'm going to use red 800. Let me bring this out. Import this. Oh, I think I deleted that. Okay. So giving it a background of red. To show up here. It's not showing. So for us to make our background to cover our whole screen, we are going to give it the height of the screen. Oh, seems like I like red too much. Let me pick another color. Yeah, let's pick green. Instead, so now it's different from my Chrome tab. Okay, so my mouse is acting. So now it has a height of 100 VH. If you hover over these classes, you can see the exact class that Tailwind uses underneath. Okay. But if this particular container overflows, this color is going to like go out of the container. So we're going to give this a mean height instead of just height. Okay. We're going to make this a flex, justify our items to center, because we want to put the container at the center. Then we'll put items center. Okay. So now I'm going to create another container for our actual div. So let's give it a max width of 500 pixels. My shortcut did not work. Is it because I used back then? Let me just write my div like that too. Okay. All right, so this, let's give it a max width of 500 pixels. So in Tailwind CSS, if you want to give your container or your element a particular fixed width or a particular fixed height or like a particular amount of elements like these 30 pixels, 40 pixels and all, you have to put it in this object like brackets. Okay. And now this gives the exact max width of 500 pixels, right? So we're going to give it a width of 90% because I don't want it to be as high as my container itself, my other container. So it will be like inside of it so you can see it. Let's give it a background of white. $200. Give it a padding of 4. Okay. So you can see now we have a container inside of here. It has a padding of 4. That means from here to here is 4. Here. So you can see the calculation for padding 4. One padding is 16 pixels. All those calculations. Then let's, inside of this div we just created. Let's close this one here. We're going to create an H1. Let's say my to do here. So now you can see our H1 right here inside of it. So this serves as this empty div is our parent container. Then we have this for our whole background. Then this is for our actual to do. So let's style our H1. Give it a class. Let's position the text at the center. Then what color should we give it? No, let's make the text bold. Or let's give it a particular. Okay, so this makes it bigger. Let's make the Y capital too. Oh, font bold, not text bold. That's what I was looking for. Okay. So let's do a bit of styling more for this our div. Let's add some border to make it like a bit different from just this straight way that it is. So in order for you to add like borders to your like your div, you use the rounded class, utility class. So I'm going to make it rounded. Should we use for it? Nah, let's use MD. Okay. So let's now add a bit of box shadow to it. So let's make our box shadow. Yeah. So we have a black box shadow that is a bit medium. Now you can see that it has popped out this box a bit here. All the way here. That was just another way to add some really styling. Now let's create another div right here. This should take in inputs. So this is our input with this placeholder, add a text. So this input has a type of text, then a class name of, that's the width is full in this whole my to-do app. Then we have a padding of 2, rounded of MD, then margin top of 4. Okay, then we have a placeholder of add a new task, right? So this is our input that's going to take in what we want to do for today. So now let's add a button right here. So the button is the one that is going to add the task for us. So now this button has a width of full, a background of green. Let's close this one. Okay. Then the text is white. Our padding to rounded and the end. So our to-do app is coming out really nice. You can see what this, just how many lines of code is bringing out such a nice UI. So now our button is also with full. That is, it goes from here to here in our screen. Then we have a background of green. We use green 800 for our background and a lighter green for the button. Then the text is white, color of our text. Then we have padding of 2. So the padding around our text here is 2, both up, down, and the sides. Our button is also rounded, MD. We have a margin of 2. Then hover. If you hover over this, it now gives you a darker shade of green. Here. Then we have this transition class. Okay. So let's try if we can add flex to this div. We can decide to make this give it flex or gap. So can you see what this just did? Now it's now made it like this. So our input is now on this side and the add text is on this side. So it gave it 2 columns. 2 columns to our to-do app, right? Let's make it, let's enter our items. Okay, so now they look like they're separate. Justify, center, right? Oh no, I want them to be together, not like column. So flex column brings them back to where they were before. So you can just use this to change the layout of your app. It just depends on your own preference. You can decide to leave it the way it was before, where the column is on there. But this is good practice because you want to be adding, if a user add a tax, it should show up under here. So this is what we're going to do for here, or app. So let's give this. Oh, okay. So now this flex, adding flex 3 to our input type makes sure that our add tags takes up 75% of our to-do app container. And then the button having flex 1, make sure that this just takes 25%. So it's like sharing the space between them. So no matter what, our input takes up only 25% and our add tags takes up 25%. Let's try seeing it in a larger screen. Okay. So we gave a fixed width to this to do app. That's why it's like that. So let's do more here. Inside of here, we're going to give our placeholder a bit of style. Let's make our placeholder like something that's, should I make it Zaka? Okay, not bad. Not bad, not bad. Okay. So let's give our border a green. So our border is not coming up. Okay, let me remove this building. See if it's going to. It's not doing it. Why ain't you working? The border color. Should give it the border color. Okay. I think it does not have a border. So let's give it 2. Not a second. All right, perfect. So now it has a. Should we make the green darker? Let's make the green darker. So border 2 gives it a setting width. So this will give it how many pixels now? 2 pixels. That's what we're not seeing before. Should you make it more darker? Nah, 500. Okay. Okay. All right. So are we up to this part before we move on to the next part of our code? Oh, this is what is this. Okay. I want them to be on the same line. Removing the margin. Still not the same. Let's leave that 3. Okay. I want to confirm if we're all at this point. Alpha, happiness. Are you here? John, Chibike, Wisdom, Pascal. Let me know if you are at this point where I am, so I know I can move on. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma, I can hear you.
Okay. Yes, happiness.
Yes, with the add tags button, we've not added the interactivity yet, but I want to just be sure.
No, this is just design. We've not added anything yet.
Okay, yeah, I'm following.
Okay. Great. So this is where we are now. All right. We have our button, our inputs, all sets. So now we're going to add another div inside of here. We will have our H1 tag that will have the to-dos. Okay. So this part now is now going to list out all the to-dos that we're going to have our user to type. So let's start this. Let's start this. We're going to give this a class name of text center. So it should be at the center, like our heading for my to-do app. Then let's give this some of the same styling we had here. Let's make the text a bit bigger, but not as big as. Let's just make it. It should not be as big as this. Then we're going to give it a font and bold. Right, like we did for the other one. For those. Great. So here we're going to create a new div. Here. And we're going to add a p tag. Let's go to as an example. Right? How am I removing this? We're going to make our background. What's the mirror? But we're using greens. No, that's looking off. Let's use green. Let's change this to green. Why should it be? Now let's give this a padding like the rest of 2 and make it rounded too. Rounded and okay. Give the text right, make the text right. So we're going to need to like install a library for icons. So we're going to be using React icons. So this is another library we can use to like add icons to our project without having to start downloading icons and adding it like you would do if you are doing like HTML and CSS. It's like it's an easy way to add icons to your project. Is this one network? So, okay, so this is how you can use it. This is installation. You install this, then use it. We just have to call the icons. We import it and use it. Very simple way to add icons to your application. So let's go back to our terminal. And we're going to run npm I or install anyone, write icons -- save. So this should install React icons notification. Okay, that is installed. So we can now go ahead and use it in our application. So let's confirm if it's installed. Here. Now you see it, we have React Actions, right? Let's open up their library so we can see all the icons they have. So React icons library. So they use GitHub pages to actually push their code. Okay. Under React Action, okay, we have different kind of React icons you can use. Yeah? Okay, there are a lot of icons here. So you can see some of ants, box icons. All these ones also have their own libraries. Fonts awesome. Fonts awesome is the popular one side. So here, okay, if you want to specifically use icons from ant design icons, you have to specify that it's ant design. So these are like different kind of actions. You can just add to applications by calling the name. If you click on one now, I think you should be able to get like the source code for adding that icon. Okay. So these are several types of icons we can use in our application just by installing that library. So for our own app, we'll need an icon to check our to-dos. That's if we click on it, it should like check that I've done this to do or I've not done that to do. So we're going to be importing fact check. Check circle, no, not share. Check. So you install it like as if you import it like you're importing a component. How do I like to import it? So this is importing from Font Awesome, as you can see, FA. FA extension is for Font Awesome. So inside of Font Awesome here, there's it. I thought that, yeah, that's it, Font Awesome 5. So Font Awesome has 1,611 fonts. So here you can now see the class names of all these icons. So our fact check circle should be here. So we have Apple Pay, PayPal, this. Yeah, here it is. So this is the icon we want to use for check circle. This is how to import it. Okay. And this is how to use it in your application. Okay. So now we're going to add it here. We'll create a new div. Then add our fact check circle. Yeah. So you can see our check circles here. If you override this, it will give you green. Now, do we want that? Okay. And this changes our cursor to a pointer. It changes from this arrow to a pointer. Another one we'll need is trash. So we're going to import FA trash from React Actions. So we're going to add that here too. So the trash is for like deleting items from our lists. Okay. That should do the job. So now this is how to use React actions, write actions in your application. So it's easier than, because in your normal HTML and CSS, you have to like start downloading these icons and using them in your application. But here, you just need to call the library and just make use of the icons. Very easy and sweet to use. Okay, so let's give space between this. Give this, no, not here. Let's make this flex. Okay, so that this can go to this side. Now let's give them space. Okay. Let's give like this. It's okay. So in this our icons now, we're going to give them a class name. Flex. So that they can be on the same line. You can check it or delete it. Okay. So now let's give them a gap of 2. There we go. So now if you hover over this, you get green. If you hover over it, you get red. Let's make it deeper. Yeah, I love that. This is deeper. Oh, too deep. Let's reduce this a bit. Okay, let's make this suffocate them. Okay. So this is how we're going to. This is just a design. So now this does not have any interactivity. It's just creating our component for this application. Okay. So now how do we make it our state to change when a user inputs something? So this is where we can now be using our useState and React hooks. So if a user inputs any text or any to do inside of here, it should update this section and add to do's here. So for us to do that, we're going to come to so what we're going to do now, all this styling, we're going to create a separate component for it. So we're going to create a new folder here in our SRC. Let's create our component. Okay. Now we're going to create to do app.css. So now all this logic that we wrote here now, we're going to move it to this to the we can leave this here. Okay. So I'll make this a bit. So it still renders normally the way it is because we are using like components for this, right? So inside of here, we're going to declare a new state. Okay. Like we learned earlier, our use state is going to return two values, our initial state and the state we're going to set it to. So let's destructure this and get our input value. And this should set our input value, and then we're going to return a string. So we also need to add this line of code to import useState from React so we can actually use it. Okay. So since we have already set this as a string, our useState should return a string. It's going to take in a string. So let's say if you now come here now and try to set this our state to a number. You are going to get an error that this argument of type number is not assigning to type this set action string. So this should take a string. Why? Because we declared our set state as string. So you should take in a string. Okay. So let's add a new event to our inputs here. Let's give it, AI is already giving, I want to give an unchanged event. So let's give it, we're targeting the input value of our input tag and click on unchange. So let's try to inspect this and see what happens when we click on change. You can see how our application is very, what's the word? Very responsive. Yeah, that's the word. Okay, so let's go to our console. Let's click this. So if we click on this, input tag is supposed to show. Oh, did I actually hide it? Okay. All right, let's close this up first. I'll review the unchanged. It's always like show up here. Let me review that unchanged event again. So here we have targeted this, our value to this, our initial value for useState here. And our unchanged is okay, sending an arrow function to our set input value. And this is targeting value. Okay. Let's try changing instead. Let's try adding something to our. Let's work on some. No, I can't see my input elements. Let me just wait to see them. Something's up. Should be able to see the change on our console. Let me click on it again. So if we change this, data. Okay. Okay. This my event handler is really awesome. I don't know how to. Okay. So I'm just going to. All right, for us to see it on our console.log, I think we have to like console it. What was I thinking? So for here, instead of setting it to this value for now, let's console.log the events. Okay. Let's clear this up. Making changes here is supposed to show. It's not showing up. It's not showing up. Well, event is it's supposed to show up like a synthetic based event here. Let me stop obsessing over that and just move on. Let's set it back. Okay, so I just hope this works. So the on page was events, set input value to value events. Okay, this looks correct, Shabo. Let's change this a bit. So it's more readable. So that's it. So let's also add an event handler to our button. So instead of, so we're going to use the on-click events for this. And we're going to use a hard to do event. So let's come up here now and create that. Okay. So now this our handle hard to do function should add this. Okay. If you add a to-do item, adding to-do, it should now give us this input value that we pass into our input elements. And it should now set our states. Instead of it to set, we initialize it as an empty string. So now our states will now go back to whatever we add into our input value. So let's try to add it. Oh, it's now working. Thank God. So this is the on-change event I was talking about. So it's supposed to show, is this the on-click event? So let's quickly check. Okay, this is the on-change event. So this on-change event is supposed to happen when any change is made to our input. So let's add something here. It's not showing. Why is our to-do not showing up? Yes. I think it's still seeing my order. Let me save this. It's not seeing outdated. Something like okay. Okay. I'm going to create another one. Use this. Okay, so let's create a new state. I don't want to add this string. I don't want to explicitly state it's a string. Should imply no. Okay. So instead of this in our add to do, we're going to use this new state that we created. So let's give it a condition. If our input value, not value, return okay, so this handler is supposed to do like if you have added it to do, it should change our states back to empty string. When we use this input value, our state will change to whatever value we put into it. But then how do we now clear our state and then so we can add more to do? We have to like do this. Let me refresh this page. Something is happening with this page. It's working now. So now if you try to like give space and add tags, it's going to go through. So for us to like make sure that they don't like add spaces and create a new tags, we are going to add a method here to trim this. So this string method removes the leading and trailing white space and line terminator characters from a string. That helps us, okay? So let's create a new to-do. Okay. Now for each of our to-do, we need to give it an ID. Like I was explaining, using like mapping into items. Okay, so you need an ID for React to be able to like get the key of that particular item. So we're going to give an ID of that particular date when this was created, then give it a text of input value, that's this input value, then a state completed, set it to false. Okay. So now let's get the set to this. So now we're going to destructure this set to do's use states here. Now we're going to call in our previous to do's. Sending to an arrow function that goes to, it gives us our previous to do and then the new to do. And TypeScript is already giving us a type error of never. So it's expecting an array of to do, but it does not know which kind of data type that is going to be decided inside of this array. So we have to each to do should have, because we declared it as ID, text, and completed, right? That is a number, a string, and a boolean. So because we did not show that the new to do is here, so now we have to create the type for this to show that new to do should show the types that new to do should collect, since we put this argument here. Okay, so let's declare a type for to do up here. So I'm going to create a type for new. Okay, so let's give it number, string. So number, string, and completed. So we are going to tell TypeScript now that since we've declared this our type to do, we have to give our use state that to do type. Okay, so because this use state is going to be returning a type of to do. This our use state now will return a type of to do, which has an ID, a text, and the completed. So let's give this that type. So to give a type to this, we're going to, oh no, we're going to, okay. So we use this our arrow brackets, then state that this use state is returning to do's, this type of to do's. So we're defining a different data type for our to do's that has ID, text, and completed. So yeah, we can also define this as a string too. Right. So these are the beauties of what TypeScript can help you to do in your React projects, yeah? Okay. So now we have to create a logic to update our items. So now let's create a new component for our to-do items. Okay. So this should give us our to-do lists. So we're going to create a new function. So now instead of writing the logic for our to-do list right inside of that to-do list app, let's just create a new component for this. So you can think of React as a tree that you can have all these your different components in different files. So now this to-do app itself is in a component. Now I want to remove this part of this to-do that inside of this to-do app. Just remove this part now and put it in a different file. So how do we do that? We have to come here where we have these to-dos here. Yeah, our to-do starts from. Our to-do started from. So this has the list of our to-dos here. So we're going to copy this part of the code. Let's see where it ends. Ended here. So I'm going to copy this part. So it reduces the bulk load here. I'm going to copy it and put it here. First, we're going to create an empty parentheses here. Then paste this here. Okay. So cool. Now we have to copy the imports that we use here. So let's copy our imports and paste it here. Right. Then so you can see our to-do is not here, right? So in order for us to get it here, wait, I shouldn't have removed this. Let's remove. Look on this side. I want this our to-dos to be here too. Let's put this div here. Okay, let's close the div. Okay, so inside of here, we are now going to call our to-do lists components. So let's import it. So this imports to-do list from to-do list component. So now if you notice, we did not import this in our app.tsx. Why? Because we want it to be inside of this our to-do app component. That's why I'm importing it inside of here. Because if we import it in app, it will be outside of these components. So because we want it to be inside here, we have to import it inside of this to-do app component. So this is how you can use and reuse components in different parts of your app. Okay. So now inside of this to-do list, we have this. Let's try to refresh and see. It should show up now. Okay, so we can see it here now. It's showing like it's in the same file, but it's not. We just added the components right here.
So what is the difference between what you just did now and what we did before?
So what I did before is I had longer code in my to-do app. Now, because we want to expand this code and add like some things into it, we don't want this particular component to be too bulky. So instead of doing that, we can just abstract that code into a different file, then add it as a component here, and to still show the same way it is, even when it is actually in this file. So when your code is getting longer, you can abstract some part of it into a separate file and just import it into this component that is rendering that you want it to be. So let's say if I want to have a nav bar now on top of here, up here, that is outside of this div, I can do it, I can import that one inside of my app.css directly. So that nav bar will not be here, so it can be out up here. Do you understand? So it depends on where you want that particular component to be. That is where you will now import that particular component. So you cannot think of it as a tree. You have a parent, you have child, you have grandparents and all. So depending on where you want your component to be, that's where you like put that particular code base. So you don't have to have all your code in one file. That's what I'm trying to say. So this is like a very practical way to use components.
Okay, I understand.
All right. Let me close this. Cool. So let's try to map over our to-dos. Okay. So instead of us just rendering this to do, let's create a map function to like do that. So we have to-dos. We're now going to use this particular use state to do here. Then we're going to map over all the to-do. Okay. We're going to map over all that to-do. And then we're going to now return there's no key. So we're just going to return to-do list. Instead of this, since we're returning a value, okay. Don't know why this my React app is not reloading right. Now you can see that we don't have any to-dos here. Right. I don't know why my application is not rendering. I have to like refresh. Something is wrong. It's supposed to like update and add a list. Let me cross check. So let's just add it. So let's give our to-do a to-do prop. It's not assignable to. Let's give the prop. You can see that type is giving us, we don't want our to-do to. He's saying we should change this to an any type, and this is very, very dangerous. We have to create a type for this, since TypeScript is shouting because it does not know the exact data type we want to collect with this prop. So let's create a type for to do our to do prop. Okay. So we're going to use this prop to get arguments, right? And we're going to use it to get our number, text, and boolean. So now we're going to now add the prop here. So to do is now taking in the to do props as a data type. So we don't need to start declaring as an any type, which is very bad for, it's like a bad coding convention to use an any type as a prop. Okay, so we're taking in the prop to do, and this is also taking in the prop to do here in our to do lists. Here in our to do lists. So because we created this and gave the to-do list, is taking the argument props here. If we are now using it, we have to add the to-do. So this, let's change this to let's make our text dynamic now. So our state is not updating, and that's like a very big problem, right? Because with this now, if we take in a text from our inputs here, this our input value. If we take in the text of our input value, it's supposed to show up in our to-do lists down here. But it's not showing up. Faster. Abi, you are tired, Abi. You will do this one as your assignment very soon. The state is not updated. I don't know if it's a problem with my code. Gosh. But yeah, the logic is correct. Like it's supposed to be correct. I don't know which part of our event now is having the issue. Is it our on-click event or on-change events? Started with these inputs. Let's try checking around. Let's inspect the page and see where the error is coming from. So okay, let's just check if it works. Let's console.log something. So in this place, if we click, let's console.log console.log another thing. So I want to know where the issue is coming from. I want to know exactly where that issue is coming from. So let's try again. Well, click events is not working. Seems it's from the on-click events. So what's wrong? If import value action, return. Guys, maybe we should just go and sleep. Our code is not working. It's supposed to update, but it's not updating. Now the click on click event is not working. On click that's to do. Let's flip this one. Fact that nothing is going to show faces. And plus, I don't know why this app is not renting by itself. Okay, so it's giving me headaches. Yeah. So it's not working, guys. Maybe we'll revise this in the next class. So I'll try to find out where the issue is from. Okay. So the whole logic and all is like correct. But seems like our on-click event is not working. Okay. So we can try that out in our next class. So meanwhile, finish up your other exercise for session 1. I'm not going to give another exercise for this session, but in our next class, we're going to build a more complex app and revise this code also to know it's wrong. You can also find out where it's wrong too. You can also debug too in your own free time. Thank you all for staying to the end of the class. Let me even check the people that are still here. How many people are still? Happiness.
There are just 3 here.
Just 3. Nice. You guys are the real G's. Okay.
I'm still having issue with debugging the code from console. How to interpret it?
I'll share your screen. Let's look at it together.
No, not like sharing my. Not like when I see something and like console.
Yeah, I know. Like, let's try checking out something. I mean, you are not seeing anything on your console right now.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
It was like, is this something that can be taught? Like how to know what an issue is, how to debug, like is this something that can be taught? Yes.
Of course, you have to read the issue. Because most of them, one good thing about front end is it's when you have an issue, it shows up in your console that, oh, you're having this issue. And the only thing you need to do is like read it properly and know, okay, where is this issue coming from? Which file is this issue coming from? Which line of code is this issue coming from? Then you can now know where the issue is coming from. So how I tried to debug this was I had to console.log inside of my onClick function. So now, as I console.log inside of my onClick function, how do I know if that function is working? When you now click on that button, did I get that stuff I console.log? Did it come up in my browser? It didn't. that means my on-click function is not working. You understand? So that's like reverse psychology on how to like find out what's wrong with your code.
Okay. Yeah.
There are some that are actually very, very clear. Like maybe if you're having network issues or your port is not connecting or something is just up with the syntax, especially syntax errors are very, very easy to debug because they will show you the exact line of code that error is coming from. But errors like this from logic are not so easy to debug. So now I have to go and sit down with that code and know what the issue is. So, do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
If you run into any code, any bugs, you can come to me. We'll debug this together.
Okay, all right. Now, thank you.
All right. Okay, my boss coming to TGA, sir. Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate for staying to the end of the session. Okay. See you until next time. Let me stop sharing now. Oh. You guys can leave the call now. My Theo has gone to sleep. Let me just okay. You can leave the call now.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Night.